Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm your host, Neon Manta.
And I'm Crispy Biscuit.
Oh shit, you're hitting him with the left hook. This is the surprise jab.
I came up with this literally 5 minutes ago on the toilet.
He says he's like waiting for it the whole time. We were talking before the podcast, and he was just like, ooh.
I was like rubbing my hands together like an evil supervillain, going like,
twiddling your evil curly mustache.
Yeah, just like with a maniacal laugh going on in the background of my head, being like, I'm gonna destroy their lives.
But now, are we going to break just like you've broken the hearts of our audience, are we going to break the hearts of Bleach fans? We finally talk about Bleach, like we've been promising for months.
It's a bit of a meme at this point, so, alright, actually get the exact date on this. When did we originally want to record our Bleach cast?
I think it was April? I couldn't tell you. We have the chat logs in the Discord, if you can check. I think if you just type in the word Bleach and then just go to the farthest back you can.
So, Bleach, old, scrolling down. We were gonna do it February 21st!
Wow. February. It was, alright, we're half a year late. Better late than never.
It is August 1st as of recording this.
And remember, if you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to hit the like button, head on down to the comments to let us know what you think of the show, and finally subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Castaway Anime and other videos.
Hold on!
Perfect timing, Ichigo.
You act like you planned it this way. I thought you promised me you weren't gonna screw this thing all up.
Well now, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you actually care about what happens to me.
I guess I do.
You know what's fucked up? I have a little mini story to tell before we dive into the show itself. I was at I'm pretty sure I told you this before too, but I didn't say it on the podcast. I was at this trading card shop selling old Yu-Gi-Oh cards because I wasn't a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. I was just trying to get rid of them. This one guy bought the rest of my I sold a bunch of cards to the shop itself, but some of them they wouldn't take because they weren't worth anything. And this one guy who I was talking to while they were grading my cards and judging their value offered to buy the rest of them off of me, and I was like, here, you can have my entire lot for like this amount of money that you have, and also if you promise to subscribe to the podcast. And I pitched him and his buddy the podcast. I think the only episodes out at the time were like some of the Dress Up Darling ones, and all the ones before then. I'm pretty sure, the JoJo one was up as well. And I told them we're going to be covering Bleach soon. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm excited for Bleach. I can't wait for the final season to air at the end of this year. And I was like, yeah, we're going to try, probably not, but get as much of Bleach covered as possible before the final season comes out in fall of this year. And now here we are. Fall is literally 2 months away in anime time, and we've only watched the first 10 episodes of a 360 episode show.
Yeah, if we do a little bit of binging, just slightly more than usual, I think we can fit it in. If we start doing daily uploads.
Daily uploads, literally kill all the other show plans, Owl House, and
probably
we
kill
take
ourselves
Owl House
by
and
the
March.
end of it.
Yeah, we take Owl House and March comes like a lion out behind the woodshed.
So anyway, we are here today to answer the question. The age-old, time-old. No, don't phrase it like that. Phrase it like this: should you consume Bleach?
Well, tell the people, Crunchy. You've had this as your Discord tag for like the past couple days now.
Okay, so actually a bit of a backstory first. Back when we were originally supposed to consume Bleach for the podcast, right? I consumed 9 episodes worth of Bleach in order to, get a taste of what Bleach is like.
Oh, that's right. You were rewatching some of these episodes then.
Basically all of them. Like, everything except for episode 10.
Did you forget all of the episodes?
No. I actually remembered most of them. The only ones I actually forgot, I think, were 6 and 7. Those were, like, basically watching it for the first time. But
Yeah, I've watched all 10 this past week.
so the answer to whether or not you should consume Bleach is maybe. I'm still
Well-
genuinely not sure.
I can tell you this, even though this is both of our first full watch of Bleach. I don't know if the show's gonna have to get like actually really bad for both of us to want to drop it. But I'm not in like a dropping period yet. I do think that this, of all of like the running shonen anime that I've seen, this definitely has the weakest opening to a series that I've seen. Cause let me compare it to all the shonen that I can think of that I have seen. I've seen, not that this is an opening, but I'm just saying I haven't seen all of Naruto yet. I watched the first 60 episodes in like fuck man, like 5 years ago at least, and I've forgotten most of it. So if I ever watch Naruto, I'm gonna have to do it from the beginning. I remember Naruto having a way better beginning. It wasn't this slow and it wasn't this monster of the week. Dragon Ball Z, legendary, perfectly paced, very attention grabbing opening. Even the modern contemporaries like My Hero Academia. I think My Hero Academia has a really fucking strong start.
I dropped it 2 episodes in.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
So my
please don't make me go back to My Hero Academia for the podcast to remember when it was good before it became bad. Just to show you when it was good.
Honestly, I wouldn't be against doing that. My exposure to shonen shows is very, very limited because I'm just so into. I'm stuck in this slice of life loop where all I watch is cute girls doing cute things shows and romance anime. The only shonen I genuinely...
You've gone on record being like you are not an action boy.
Yeah, I don't really like action scenes that much. The one action series I genuinely really, really like is Katana Gatari, but that's written by Nisio Isin, so you know it's not a normal action series at all. Like, just from the fact that Nisio Isin wrote it, you can be sure that it is not your typical action stuff. The only shonen thing I've watched before and genuinely loved was Assassination Classroom, but that's just like weird and wacky and like completely over the top.
Yeah, that's
sort of
not
surreal
a traditional.
comedy.
It's definitely not a traditional battle shonen series like your Naruto's, your Bleaches, your One Pieces.
Assassination Classroom is just fucking weird, and that's why I like it.
So now let me ask you this though: when you watched all of Ass Class, what did you think about the action scenes in that show? Because I know from the few episodes I've seen of it, I remember there were some action scenes, and I remember liking some of them.
For the most part, they were very, very much carried by the emotions of each scene, each action scene in general. And I remember there not being much of a focus on like how badass the characters were being necessarily. I mean, for starters, most of the ones with Koro Sensei in them were so over the top that you couldn't even begin to grasp where the power levels were actually at. It was more so like on an emotional level, intriguing and kept my interest. It wasn't necessarily the fight choreography that was making me go like, whoa, this is so cool.
Yeah, definitely not a traditional one, but so this is like your sort of like your first and your longest introduction to, you know, your typical battle show. Oh no, wait, no, that's not true. You watched Demon Slayer.
Yeah, I did watch Demon Slayer.
And you didn't like Demon Slayer.
No.
Cause Demon Slayer is, you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I remember, cause Demon Slayer is just kind of like Bleach. It's a dude with a sword fighting demons, right?
I mean,
obviously
kinda.
there's different tones and different time periods and different power systems. But like, if you want to like boil it down, put it in a little box, it's definitely like the closest thing in the Shonen Jump catalog.
I mean, I'm not familiar enough with Shonen Jump to really make that comparison, but I mean, at least to me, they seem like basically completely different shows. But I mean, hey, I'm gonna assume you know more about like the shonen world than I do.
Yeah, this is the second of the big three shonen shows that I've ever watched. Like I said, I watched a lot of Naruto as a kid because I was really into it as a kid, and then when I was a teenager, I tried to make an attempt to watch all of it, but then I was a dumbass kid who didn't understand the concept of filler episodes, and I was like, man, this plot is going fucking nowhere. Can we get back to like the actual story? So I ended up putting it on hold indefinitely, and I haven't seen any episodes in like 5 years, so I'm gonna rewatch it with a filler guide one day. And I haven't seen any of One Piece yet, because that's a juggernaut onto itself. But of all of the shows, though, this is the one that shonen fans would probably burn you at the stake for not necessarily starting, but trying to finish first. Even though it is the shortest of the three, it is also generally agreed upon in the shonen community to be the worst.
I did not know that, but I guess that does sort of illuminate a bit of what I saw, because I mean, there was a part of me when watching this, right, especially for the first time, where I was like, why is this so like immensely popular? Because it just sort of seems like if it was way less popular than it was, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't
we should
seem
probably
like this big thing.
We should probably preface this podcast is only covering episodes 1 through 10 of the Bleach anime. We were initially going to do the entire 20 episode substitute arc, but that became very clear that it's like, hey, maybe cramming 20 episodes of television into 1 week's worth of watching time, probably not the best idea for either of our schedules. So let's just cut it into a 2-parter.
Yeah, that seems pretty much fair, especially since the biggest criticism my friends have given the podcast is that every episode is 3 hours, they exclaim to me. So maybe it's best to cut this down.
We've been doing a very good job of cutting it down.
Yeah, we're gradually getting there. We're whittling down that timestamp.
I mean, all of the non-seasonal casts are like no more than 2 hours now.
Yeah,
we've been getting pretty concise about that. If I feel like if this was 20 episodes, this one could go on for 3 hours, depending on how much content was in the last 10 episodes.
I mean, that feels like very dependent on the amount of content, because I don't think I'll actually have that much to say about most of these episodes, at least on an individual level. I think most of my opinions on the show are more overarching. Actually, how do you want to cover this? Do you want to do it episode by episode, or do you want to just like go freestyle?
I think we should freestyle, because going over this show, at least this arc, in a chronological manner, probably wouldn't be doing the best, because right now, I can tell you this already just by my pre-existing knowledge of Bleach and like shonen in general. What we are watching now will not be all of Bleach. There are big developments over the horizon in the story that's gonna change like the entire dynamic of the show. It's not just gonna be pardon me. It's not just gonna be Ichigo fighting the Hollow of the Week every single episode until episode 366. There's gonna be they've already hinted at stuff like the Soul Reaper school, which, you know, it's a shonen. We're gonna go to a school for superpowered people eventually. We're gonna fight guys who we've already seen a Soul Reaper fight another Soul Reaper, so that's gonna be a thing. We're not just gonna be fighting hollows all the time. There are developments, and it's not gonna be like this forever, but as of right now, it's not leaving a great first impression. If this were a show that came out in the seasonals the way we cover them in the seasonal cast, I would not be impressed.
That thing you said about like there being, clearly more developments on the horizon is the one thing that's sort of propelling me through this show, because it's like this is clearly a very beloved show to a lot of people. And what I'm
Dude,
watching right now
that's
is
the shonen. That is the shonen number one shonen fan thing. It's like, I know it's a little slow now, but dude, once you get to chapters XY or episode ABC, dude, that's when it gets good.
I do
That's
see
how
that comment a lot.
That's how they all are. Every shonen.
Yeah, and because it's like there's no way if it was just this quality the entire time that it would be as popular as it is, or at least that's what I tell myself. But then again, Shield Hero was a big thing, so you know.
Yeah, so Bleach was originally a manga by Tite Kubo. It ran in Weekly Shonen Jump in 2001 to all the way to 2016, and the anime ran from 2004 to 2012, with its final arc getting adapted next season, the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And Bleach, like I already said, was one of the big three. You even someone who's not even in the shonen circle like you are, Crunchy. Surely you know about the big three in anime, right?
Oh yeah, I can name them off the top of my head: Naruto, Bleach, One Piece.
Yeah, because they were, you know why they were called the big three?
Because they were three shonen sort of airing concurrently around the same period in the mid 2000s that were all absurdly popular and also absurdly long.
Yes, definitely emphasis on the popular part, because I might be wrong about exactly, well, I don't know exactly how long this series of events ran for, but there was a pocket in time when all of these manga were running concurrently in Shonen Jump, where they would constantly top the sales and popularity charts and polls of the magazine. They like, not it's an exaggeration to say this, obviously, but you could say that they carried Weekly Shonen Jump, the magazine, on their backs by themselves. They didn't even need all of the other manga that came in the magazine. They could have been just those three, and that would have held it up all on their own.
Sounds like an exciting time to be an anime fan that I was not a participant in, because I was born. I was like 3 when when that was really going down.
Yeah, I am only one. It's so weird to think about because it doesn't feel like it's that old, but I am only 1 year older than Bleach in terms of a manga. I'm 4 years older than its anime.
All right, hold on. When did Bleach start airing again, or like the manga?
The manga started in 2001.
So the manga is older than me by like 3 years.
Goddamn! So that means the anime is like as old as you are.
When did it start airing?
2004.
Okay, yeah. See, actually, I'm gonna go to AniList right now and check the exact date it started airing. Okay, I predate it by like 2 months. No, 3 months.
So, my experience with watching these kinds of mid 2000s anime is very limited. All of it was done pretty much exclusively on either Saturday morning cartoons like Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, for your 4Kids, and your what was it? Adult Swim, like catching sometimes parents will be asleep, TV will be on, watching Family Guy, then it switches over to the motherfucking Toonami block, and it plays some Naruto, some One Piece, some Bleach. When I was hanging around it, they were playing shit like Soul Eater. When I was watching Bleach, I didn't put together in my head that it was I am watching the TV show Bleach. I was just watching a cartoon. And I don't even remember what episodes I was watching, but I didn't even pay that much attention to it. The only shows from that Toonami block that I remember actually watching and being enticed by was Naruto. So I was like, is it possible to feel nostalgia for a show that you've never watched before?
I mean, I guess if it's the type of show that's meant to evoke nostalgia, then I guess maybe. But I mean, at least for Bleach, not really.
Cause like the the moment that the first opening turned on at the start of episode 1, uh it got me nostalgic for fucking watching anime on DVD, catching episodes on Adult Swim, and just like that whole era of like fucking standard definition, bro. I watched this, I was like, oh shit, standard definition was a thing. I completely forgot.
Okay, well, that makes sense. That's like, bringing you back to an era. Which, to be fair, standard definition shows do have something of a charm to them, I feel. Like, just
Well,
watching something that's like a square. I don't know
yeah,
why.
I was gonna say it's just well, cause when our old TVs just used to be squares and not rectangles, they would fit perfectly within those confines. Now, because we have those rectangular TVs, we gotta have the black bars because they just straight up weren't designed. They did not future proof this shit,
Dude,
and
even
resolution
when,
just
like,
naturally got better.
yeah, even when HD was like the norm, I do remember that my bedroom TV was a standard definition. So for the longest time, I always watched things in that resolution, even when it was the norm to have a much higher resolution TV.
And even just the vibes of, all right, so I guess we can start getting into the actual quality of the show with what do you think about the first opening asterisk?
The opening song, it's fine. I like some of the visuals, especially the one where it's like Ichigo and Kuchiki silhouetted against a red screen, and then
You
it
mean
literally like
you
cuts
mean
them in
Rukia?
half. Yeah. I think her full name is Kuchiki Rukia.
Yeah, well, first name Rukia, last name Kuchiki.
Okay, yeah.
I was gonna say, have you been like the entire time you're watching Bleach? Did you call her Kuchiki?
Not the entire time. I genuinely just switch between Kuchiki and Rukia. Just whatever I feel like at the moment. I'm never consistent with names in anime.
I feel like Rukia is just easier to say. Doesn't Ichigo say Rukia's first name more than her last name?
Yeah, I think he says Rukia more. I don't know. I guess it depends on whichever one I remember first. You have to remember I'm very bad at names.
Yeah, I'm not big on the song. Like the hearing the song, because I remember seeing clips of it of like back in. I was one of them OG YouTube watchers, because I remember back in the day. I don't know. You probably heard old anti-tubers talking about this. I remember people would be uploading anime episodes onto mid 2000s YouTube, cut up into 3 parts because they could only cap at like 10-minute uploads at the time. So they split it up in like, okay, here's 8 minutes of this episode, then 8 minutes of this episode, 8 minutes of this episode. And that's how a lot of people watched their anime back in the day online. And Bleach was one of those shows. Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, man.
So you watched this on like YouTube back in the day.
I didn't watch like the show. I didn't like. If I did, it was like some random fucking episode and like a part of it. But like also AMVs, because AMVs were pretty popular, and a lot of people used asterisk, and like they'd either use the song for like other shows, or they'd use some of the visuals from the opening and put other songs over it. But just hearing the song and seeing the visuals of that being put together like the way it was originally made, but just seeing it now as an adult all these years later, I'm like, it like a wave of nostalgia hit me, like I remember those days.
I will say the
It
one
also
thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it also helps that it is very visually creative.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, which is that the song, it's kind of mid, although I do like how it's, sort of, it feels like the kind of song that's meant to evoke nostalgia, or at the very least it sounds nostalgic. But
Mm-hmm.
the visuals are basically what carry the opening for me. Like I rarely skipped the opening. I think I only did it like once. Even while this being a rewatch, like I still watch the opening almost every single time because it is a very visually interesting opening.
Yeah, I love how the show's title is just like all like spread throughout the visuals and visually creative different ways, all this different typography and iconography, all the different colors they use. It's hard for me to pick like a favorite moment. I think my favorite shot. It's so hard. I think my favorite one is when Orihime and Tatsuki spray paint the camera, but they don't fully coat it in the spray paint, and you can see them walking away on the side.
That is probably my second favorite, along with the one that I mentioned earlier of them getting cut in half as silhouettes. I just think that one's very creative and interesting. And also,
Yeah, that one's good. You were gonna say something?
it was basically an offhanded comment about how Akiyuki Shinbo has cursed like cutting characters in half in silhouettes for me, so I just automatically like them now.
I was gonna say a close second place favorite shot in the opening would be that it like lasts for a second too. It's just the one where they're all like walking along these wooden posts, and Rukia is just trying to stick her arms out to walk across them to balance.
That's
It's
also
like,
a nice
it's like
shot,
a
yeah.
blink and you'll miss it kind of shot, but it's like really cute.
I genuinely did miss it for a long time, but I ended up noticing it eventually, and I was like, oh, that's fun. They also have like this
And
little
then-
like posterize filter over it. I think it's posterize.
Kind of. There's definitely a lot of post processing in the opening with like I think there's one with that one shot where Ichigo, Chad, the dude with glasses that we haven't met yet, and Rukia are sitting fucking dripped out of their minds at night in a city with a wall behind them. I think that is a 3D background.
If it is, I didn't notice it.
Cause like the characters are like spinning around in 3 dimensions with the camera. I'm pretty sure the wall is like 3D.
I mean,
Which is also a really fucking cool shot. Yeah, you'll also notice in the opening that Kubo has a fetish for dressing up his characters in all different kinds of fashion senses that almost rivals Araki from JoJo.
He does have a lot of outfits.
Like he puts Ichigo, well, him and also Studio Pierrot, they put Ichigo, Rukia, and all the characters in like 5 different outfits in the course of this one song.
I didn't quite notice that, but yeah, like thinking back, there are a lot of outfits in the show and also in the song.
Yeah, we don't even fucking watch. We don't even see most of these outfits appear in the show. He just like likes to put them in cool looking outfits.
I mean, hey, more power to him. I mean, I like it when shows have a bunch of different outfits because it looks fun. You know,
The ending.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
it does. I was gonna say yeah, it does look fun. It is very cool. The ending theme is kind of lame in comparison, though.
I skipped the ending nearly every time. I think I watched it
Yeah.
in full the first time, and then from then on, I'd like have it on in the background while I was just putting my finishing thoughts on the episode. And like for every episode, I wrote a synopsis just so that I could remember what happened. And so I'd write the synopsis while the song was going on. Then the second I finished writing the synopsis for the episode, I just moved on to the next episode. Did not finish the song.
It's just kind of, especially compared to how fucking good the opening is. It's just like it's a pretty song. I wouldn't say the song is bad, but just like there's nothing visually creative about it. It's just Rukia is holding a scarf or a ribbon, and then we see a really small window appear and see all the side human characters and Ichigo, and they're smiling, having a good time, and Rukia smiles, and that's it.
I guess the song's in English, so that's cool.
It's in English half the time, and
Half
then the
the
other half
time.
is Japanese. Yeah.
Okay. Other
so-
than that, not really much to say.
Yeah, now before we get into the show proper, I gotta ask, and I think I already know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway for the sake of the podcast. Dub or sub?
I watched it subbed.
Yes. See, all right, this is gonna be interesting because I watched it dubbed.
Oh, okay. That is interesting.
I make it a point to be like, all right, every shonen anime that I watch, it's gotta be dubbed. And it's like the only exceptions I'll make are I'm trying to remember. Yeah, for dubbed anime is that if there's a movie in theaters and there's a dub of it, I'm gonna watch the dub. Usually because dubs in theaters tend to be of passable quality, and it's honestly just easier for me to just hear a dub than it is to read subtitles on a theater. Cause it's a bigger screen that I have to pan my eyes down at, rather than like, say, a computer screen or a TV screen where I can encompass a majority of the view, if not all of the view, without having to break my line of sight on a piece of the scene.
I mean, I guess I just generally prefer subtitles, and I mean, like the only show I've ever made a point of watching dubbed for whatever reason has been Death Note. Like, that is the only one.
That is a very good dub.
Yeah, it is a very good dub. I've never even seen it subbed.
I haven't seen it subbed either, because, it was also technically a shonen, but also because the dub is one of the best ever. It's one of the best anime dubs of all time.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard a better one. I mean, Light's dub actor is honestly, like, more iconic in the English-speaking community than his sub actor. Like, when people do a Light Yagami impression, they do the dub voice.
Dude, the Light Yagami laugh in dub, it's just so much better.
But I mean, other than that, it's just, like, I default to sub, because the few times I've heard dubs, it's normally enough to be like, okay, nah, I'm flipping this back to Japanese voice actors instantly. What was your experience with the Bleach dub?
There's definitely, it has that mid-2000s dub vibe where, some of the characters, like, they nailed it just perfectly, and some of them are, you can hear where they're like, oh, this is where, like, those stigmas behind anime today stem from, because they were, if not, like, born from this era, they were popularized in this era. Because this is when, like, anime was coming into it wasn't like mainstream, but it was, it is penetrating the cultural zeitgeist. Cause like I would say it's fair to say that today anime is mainstream.
Yeah.
At least, if not more, definitely way more mainstream now than it was a decade and a half ago.
I mean, I'd go so far as to say it's basically mainstream media at this point, at least the bigger anime.
In the West, rather.
Yeah.
I specify in the West. Obviously, in Japan, it's incredibly mainstream. So, the dub is overall good. There was exactly two parts that annoyed me. One part was the voice that he did for the bird. It was just like they didn't get an actual little kid to voice the bird. They got a adult doing a child voice, which is not uncommon, but it was not a very good child voice. It was a very, this is an adult playing a child.
Funnily enough,
not a very good one.
Funnily enough, the bird is actually the one part of the sub acting that did annoy me too. Which
maybe the bird's just a shit character.
Yeah, like I wanted to like the bird, but his voice is like pitch shifted oddly. And then there's this one scene where like it's his ghost speaking instead of the bird, and they unpitch shift it. And I was immediately like, this is better. You should have done this the entire time.
They didn't do any pitch shifting for the bird. It was just the same woman doing a little boy's voice.
That sounds better than what we got in the sub.
And then the second time that the dub was bad was the voice they did for Ichigo's mom, specifically when she was replaying her last thoughts to Ichigo in the ninth episode. And maybe you'll have to tell me how the performance was in the sub, but the performance they do, in the dub was not good. Two reasons. One, the actress was just kind of phoning it in, wasn't a very good delivery, but also because it sounded like this is supposed to be her last dying thoughts, right? This is like her last thoughts being like, Ichigo, always be like proud, always be like, take care of the family, always continue being the same happy child you always are. And the way she delivers it in the dub, it's like sounds so happy. Like she's not saying this while she's dying and bleeding out. She's saying, it's like she's talking directly to Ichigo, being like, "Oh, Ichigo, you'll always be happy." It's kind of like the way maybe like your actual mother, like your grandmother, would like tell you compliments. And it's just like very tonally dissonant to what should be like kind of a sad moment, because these are like supposed to be her. She's fucking bleeding out, right?
Yeah,
her soul's getting sucked away. Like she should be like weak.
I wouldn't say the sub actor sounded like weak and dying, but it was a bit more. I wouldn't even say melancholic, but it was enough to keep the tone melancholic, where it was sort of like. It's hard to describe, like.
Yeah, the way that the dub performance did it, you would think that Ichigo's mom would have seen Ichigo tomorrow, like she wasn't dying.
Yeah, like her sub actor was definitely a lot more heartfelt. That's the word there. Like more heartfelt, not in like a cheery way, but like in a, this is a thing I want to tell you, but I can't because I am getting murdered to death.
All right. I guess that's gonna be the extent of the dub versus sub debate. I guess it'll just go on forever.
I mean, I will say one last thing about the sub, which is that Rukia's voice actor is great. I love her voice.
Rukia's voice in dub is also great.
So I guess the debate really does rage forever.
In fact, because I know Ichigo's voice because it's iconic. Johnny Young Bosch. Are you familiar with him at all?
No.
Well, he's always been the Ichigo voice actor. Okay, Michelle Ruff. I'm not familiar with her, but I'm sure I've heard her in other things. Oh my god, she was fucking Kawakami from Persona 5. Are you familiar at all with Persona 5?
Nope.
Alright, you're one of the good ones then.
Rukia's voice actor in the sub was Fumiko Orikasa. I'm not sure what else she's done.
Oh, let's fucking go. Michelle Ruff was an alumni of MSU. Let's go Spartans. Let's see. She's Yoko, Yuki from Haruhi Suzumiya, and fucking Cream the Rabbit. Really? Alright, well, she's one of those actresses then that I've heard her work in other things. I just never put her name to any of them.
Well, what do you know? This podcast was a journey of discovery.
So let's talk a little less about the actors and more about the characters themselves. This is the one that I'm most curious about. How do you feel about Ichigo?
Not much, honestly. Like, so he's basically this sort of like quick to not necessarily. I mean, yeah, I guess quick.
He's
to
a delinquent
anger
boy.
Yeah, and I guess like he's quick to like kick you in the ass and be like, "Shut the fuck up." No, he not necessarily get angry. Like most of the time, he's not legitimately like mad at people. I think he more so like that's just the way he interacts with the world.
He's easily irritated.
Yeah, irritated is a better word than angry. Like things get on his nerves, and he's quick to just be like, "Stop it," and
just cut it out.
No, he's very standoffish. Uh, and that's really I mean, obviously he gets his backstory with his mom, and that's probably when he's the most interesting. But for the most part, that is his personality.
The moment that I haven't been sold on Ichigo like I have been sold on characters like Goku, Naruto, even fucking Deku, like immediately, or Luffy, even I was gonna say Luffy, but I haven't seen enough One Piece to be sold on Luffy. But like even the little that I've seen of One Piece, of like bits and pieces of it, I'm more sold on his character than I have on the 10 episodes of Bleach that I've actually watched.
He's not an immediately compelling character. I will say that. He's passable. Like he's not poorly written or anything. It's just kind of not that interesting, and most of the time his dialogue isn't even really all that funny.
He's not unlikable, but there's like nothing special to him outside of his standoffishness, which is even then is not like unique among shonen protagonists. You could say Luffy and Naruto are standoffish. Fucking Asta from Black Clover. Probably more examples I'm not thinking of right now. But Ichigo is definitely like the most easily irritated. Like the only other character that I can think of from a shonen property that is as easily like quick to anger or like quick to tell someone to shut the fuck up is Jotaro from JoJo.
I guess the most interesting part of his character, aside from the thing with his mom, which we'll get into, is that he sort of LARPs as being a delinquent, but isn't actually one at all. Like he'd be like, "Oh, I'm not that good of a guy, you know. I don't care about saving the world." And then, obviously, because it's a shonen and he's a shonen protagonist, when he gets shown this child who's about to get his soul sucked out, he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll help him if I really have to." I mean,
God fucking damn it. God fuck shit.
I'm not a good guy at all. Oh, what's this? I'll risk my life to help this random stranger. But I'm not a good guy or anything. Anyone would do that. So that dissonance is kind of interesting, but I mean, not enough to make me really hooked into the character yet.
I think my favorite Ichigo moment was in episode 2, where Rukia is testing Ichigo's resolve because he's not being like, I'm not doing the substitute Soul Reaper shit. Like, I'm not doing it. But then she takes him to a hollow that's attacking a ghost boy, and she's like, all right, don't save that spirit's lives then, because they're not your family, or they're not a spirit that you know. So don't save them. But let me tell you something. Soul Reapers, all spirits' lives are equal, including the lives of the humans that we protect. And if you save one person, you have to save every person. If you save one spirit, you got to save all the spirits. There's no playing favorites. And then when she's testing him, Ichigo fires back at Rukia, being like, I saved this kid, but not because, and you save people too, but not because it's your job as a Soul Reaper, but because it's the right thing to do. Like, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't even be your job to, it shouldn't have to be your job in order to save people. You should just, when people are in danger, you jump in to save them because that's what you should do.
I think his exact rationale is like, I won't go out of my way to save everyone, but if they're right there, then there's no reason for me not to.
Yeah, that was his best moment, and one of his two only moments in the show where I was like interested in him as a character. The second being his backstory with his mother.
All right, I'm gonna pose this next question because I think this is where things are gonna get more interesting. What are your opinions on Rukia?
I love her. She's really fucking good. I definitely would like to see her. I can't wait until she gets her powers back and she can actually contribute to the plot more than just being essentially the navigator and a sort of mentor for Ichigo. But she is definitely my favorite character in the show right now. Well, actually,
same-
hold on. I gotta immediately amend that. She is if we're talking like within the narrative, she's like the best overall character, but like definitely I have a different favorite, and I'm hoping that this character is also your favorite when we decide to talk about them.
All right. I guess we'll see. I think I know who you're talking about, but we'll
You
get to that
just,
when we.
Do you want me to just say it right now?
Sure.
Chad, motherfucking Chad.
Oh, I was gonna say
he is my
Kisuke.
favorite character. He is also cool so far, but no, Chad fucking peak character writing, peak fiction.
I did not feel the same way at all. I didn't hate him.
You
or
didn't like
anything.
fucking Chad?
Not really. I mean,
What's
he's just-
wrong with you?
I do like that people do call him Chad. That is funny. And actually, all right, funny story here, right? They called him Chad, and I was like, is this an Americanized sub moment? Are they replacing the character names so that they don't come off as Japanese for the subs? Because sometimes they do that. So I looked
Well,
on
why would they
AniList.
do that with this one character, but they didn't do it for Ichigo, they didn't do it for Rukia?
See, I was confused by that too. So I went to AniList to look at the name, and I saw Yasutora Sato, and I was like, "What?" And then I go forward in the episode in a little bit, and I was like, "Okay, it's just his nickname." But it is a funny nickname.
I think like the in canon explanation is that Ichigo read like the kanji of his name. I think one of his kanji like could be read as the pronunciation Chad, or like maybe Chad is like a shorter word for a Japanese word, and he just calls him Chad as a nickname. But I I just find it incredibly humorous and entertaining that this long predates the Chad and Virgin meme, but this guy invented the Chad meme. Like everyone that's called a Chad today they're referring to this guy. I'm always going to imagine that in my mind now. This guy is peak fucking performance. He towers over everyone else. He fucking stopped a steel beam with nothing but the thickness of his neck and shoulders. He fucking rips a telephone pole out of the ground and beats the shit out of a hollow with it. How can you not love him?
I mean, he's not bad. I don't know, man.
He's a man of few words. He loves cute things.
It's just kind of
fucking-
aye.
He goes to fight that hollow and gets like he punches him once, and Ruki's like, holy shit, can this guy actually see hollows? And just go like punching the air randomly. It's like, oh, maybe not.
That was a very humorously timed moment, and it did make me laugh. But I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, Chad's okay. Rukia, on the other hand, all right. I don't think I love her quite as much as you do, but I do like her, and I do. I do have a few
I
things
say
to say about
love.
her.
I only said love because aside from her and Chad, and I wouldn't say I love Kisuke because he just hasn't been in the show enough. They're like the only two characters that I have like a strong positive connection to. Everyone else, I'm either like they're okay or I don't like them at all.
I think the reasoning for it is that like Rukia feels a lot less one note than Ichigo, and
Oh no, she has a way
Yeah.
wider depth of personality.
so Rukia is okay. So one of my favorite things about her personality is that she's a little standoffish, specifically towards Ichigo, and so it makes for a sort of interesting duo where like both of these people are constantly standoffish towards each other, which is really entertaining to see. But Rukia is a lot less, like a little less standoffish and a little less I'll kick you for no reason. You know, she takes herself a lot more seriously than Ichigo, I'd say. Like she's a little more poised and I don't know, just a little less like I'll beat the shit out of you because you irritated me a little bit. And then oh, go
I
on.
was gonna say my absolute favorite gag of hers. Well, she
know what
has
you're gonna
she has
say.
all the funniest moments of the show, aside from Chad. Her every time she explains something about Soul Society or hollows to Ichigo, she busts out a fucking notepad and draws on it for diagrams, being like, okay, this is what a hollow does when it appears. This is how a hole becomes a hollow. This is how like the flow of souls work and shit like that. And she like the best part of all these gags is when she does a little flip book animation at one point, and
That's
the fucking cutest
amazing.
thing. And like all of her
God,
drawings
that's-
suck, and she takes it personally when Ichigo insults her drawings and beats him for it.
Like, that's how you do exposition. Because if you have to have a character explain something, like, at the very least, do this and
Make it entertaining.
Yeah, it's funny. It informs us about the character. Another thing I like about Rukia is that she has this, like, she's embarrassed about it, right? But she really likes cute things. Like, in episodes, I think it's episode 7, where she's
when she's ordering like the ghost Pez.
Yeah, she's like basically a Pez dispenser, and she's like, I don't like this one. I wanted it to be the rabbit version, not the duck version. But everyone likes the duck version.
Like, this is all I could get my hands on. It's like, that's what you're concerned about. It's like, what the fuck do you have against the rabbit, bro? I love how I mean that's just the thing about Rukia. I love how she can be she's mostly in serious mode because she's this veteran soul reaper who's lived for like over a century, but she can also like both when she's being serious just busts out a drawing and take her explanation and diagram completely seriously despite having the artistic skill level of a grade schooler. And then also when she wants to just like cut loose a little and have a little fun, sometimes at Ichigo's expense and sometimes just because she finds it fun. Her fucking little bwahaha when she hangs out with Ichigo at the ghost hunting show taping. Fucking adorable.
That was so... and it's like she doesn't even know what it means. She's just like, bo ha ha.
Yeah, she doesn't know what it is yet. Everyone else is doing it, so I guess I'll do it too.
Yeah,
it looks fun.
Her logic is like, I don't know what this means, but it seems fun, and I'm trying to relax right now. You should relax too. Come on, bo ha ha with me. And another thing I like is how she puts on this like super energetic Genki girl persona at school in order to fit in with all her classmates, and then just like she has to sort of subtly be an asshole to Ichigo, like when other people are watching, and it's really entertaining to watch. Like I think at one point she like kicks him, and then she's like, "Oh my god, you're hurt. Here, let me take you to the nurse." And the people watching are like, "She totally kicked him, right?" And the other guy is like, "Just pretend you didn't see it."
Rukia, like she's. It is a meme to say that Chad is carrying the show, but Rukia is actually carrying the show right now.
Rukia is probably...
I enjoy Chad both ironically and unironically, but Rukia is the only character that I straight up enjoy because she's a fun character.
One thing I will say is that Orihime and the other Tatsuki, they seem
I like Tatsuki more than Orihime.
Yeah, Orihime, admittedly, her sub voice actually kind of grates on me at times. But her personality can be a bit fun because she's like so airheaded at times that like it just goes into like pure mania almost. Like her taste in
thing
food.
That she saw herself being in like a few decades was a killer robot.
She sort of seems like a less funny Osaka from Azumanga Daioh. But, I mean, hey, being a less funny Osaka is still being relatively funny.
And she kind of has this little crush on Ichigo, it looks like.
Yeah, I think she does. I feel like they could, like, her and Tatsuki have a thing going on. But, like, it needs to be explored more for it to really start to hook me into the show, and specifically these characters. But I do want to see it explored more, and I think if it does get explored more, it could be good.
Yeah, I definitely... Well, also because my tomboy bias is kicking in, but I just want to see more of Tatsuki. I want to ask you this, though, because I'm very, very curious to... just dive into this mini rabbit hole for the next few minutes. How do you feel about Ichigo and Rukia's dynamic?
It's probably when Ichigo is at his most enjoyable. I like this duo of two, standoffish people, bringing out the more aggressive side in Rukia. And for Ichigo, I mean, he's basically just being himself, but it's still a fun dynamic.
Do you think they would make a good couple?
Yes. Well, actually, wait, she's way older than him, though, isn't she? Isn't she like, I don't know, over 100 or something?
She is over 100, but also like she has the body and also pretty much the personality of a high schooler. So I mean, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like any more mature than a high schooler. So I mean, hey, if they get together in the end, I'm here for it.
So yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? And I think most, if not all, Bleach fans would agree with you. Here's the only spoiler that I'm going to tell you about Bleach, and it's let me tell you right now, it's for your own good. Like, this is me ripping the Band-Aid off so you don't get false hope. In case you're like, man, I really like this dynamic between Ichigo and Rukia. It kind of feels like they could build up into like this really cool romance where like they've been together the whole time.
Oh, no.
It kind of sounds like this whole, it could be like a boy meets girl kind of scenario, because they're the first dynamic established in the show. The whole reason Ichigo is tangled up in this whole shonen ghost hunting fiasco is because Rukia was the one who gave him his power. So you'd think maybe something could blossom or develop in between them. No, he ends up with fucking Orihime.
I am crying. I'm crying, tearing up. Tears are flowing.
It is like so commonly agreed upon by Bleach fans. It's like, why the fuck would you do that? Rukia's right there.
I mean, maybe
she fucking
Orihime
lives in the man's closet.
Maybe Orihime becomes a more interesting character, but I mean, like, to me, right now, she's just kind of like, eh. She's more interesting when she's with Tatsuki than when she's with Ichigo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right now she is only like it's not an exact 1-to-1, but very close. It's how OG Hinata was around Naruto, just kind of like blushing and a little flustered. It definitely more so, well, less so in Bleach than comparatively to Hinata and Naruto, who couldn't get a fucking word out when he was around.
That is actually disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I had a devilish thought in my head, like, I have this knowledge that he doesn't. I wonder how long I could like build up the idea. Like, if I could sell him on the Ichigo Rukia ship, like see how his hopes get dashed.
Honestly, now I'm kind of sad that you didn't do that, because it would have been horrible for me, but I would respect the troll. No, that would be the most.
It would have been. It would have been a very cantankerous act, but
it would be very funny.
I couldn't in good faith do it like that.
It would just be too painful. It'd be abuse, man. Host abuse.
It's not even like a good thing, because like you could say it's not uncommon for like the main characters of the shonen to end up together. Like, oh, you would think that Naruto would end up with Sakura if like at the start of the series, because that's just how stories like these should go, and then he would never end up with Hinata. But the way that Naruto's set up from the beginning, like Naruto's feelings for Sakura are completely one-sided. Sakura straight up doesn't even really like Naruto at first. And like even when she does come to like him, it's more of a respect thing than a liking thing. Like she likes him more out as like a teammate before a friend, and then when it becomes a friendship, and by that point Naruto's already established more of a relationship and kinship with Hinata. So when that shit makes sense. This one, obviously I haven't seen the whole thing, but even like just going off of the character interactions here, Ichigo and Rukia don't hate each other. In fact, at one point, Ichigo says, like, Rukia teases her, being like, oh, what's that? You care about me now or something? Ichigo's like, well, shit, I guess I do. and it's like a really sweet moment, and you're like, oh, this is how it starts. But nope, the hopes thoroughly dashed.
Pain. That is actually disappointing. Like, and it's 10 episodes in. I can't imagine finding that out so far into the series. My God. I still think that would have been a funny troll. It would have been evil, but it would have been funny. Like, even with the disappointment I have now.
I feel like the comments would have spoiled it.
I mean, I don't really read the comments of these for the most part.
If this gains any traction within any semblance, like the smallest bit of traction in the Bleach community, there would people be like, ooh, don't get too attached to that shit, bro. But yeah, it's generally agreed upon to be a big missed opportunity.
Yeah. Well, enough of that rabbit hole. That painful rabbit hole. What do you think about the sort of Monster of the Week formula so far? Do you think it does a good job with that premise?
I mean, I'm very eager to get away from it and get into the more structured, long-form storytelling that takes place over a good number of episodes, rather than we just fight the hollow of the week. Because there have been developments. We do get things like it's not just the status quo. We're not like resetting to the status quo every time, even though we are also straight up erasing memories of the humans. Things do happen. Ichigo is learning more about the hollows and how they work. Rukia is very slowly, but is also getting her powers back little by little. We're getting introduced to new characters, both human and Soul Reaper. And even stuff about like Ichigo's backstory. Now, Ichigo has a new mission now to go hunt down the Grand Fisher Hollow that killed his mom and get strong enough in order to do that. But if the remainder of the Substitute arc, which is the first 20 episodes of the anime, are just this Monster of the Week shit, I definitely could see myself, if this were like a new show and didn't have the pedigree that it did, if I were watching this like today, if this came out today, I definitely probably would have dropped it a few episodes in, because I'd be like, okay, like Monster of the Week, it's not really my thing. I prefer long-form storytelling.
I think these sort of like Monster of the Week or like even Scenario of the Week stories. I mean, to be fair, Scenario of the Week is a bit more broad, so you can do a bit more with it. Like these kinds of stories can work as long as you manage to build enough investment in the scenario. Like significant portions of, just to draw another example, Assassination Classroom, significant portions of that show are what stupid thing will the characters do this week? And sometimes that does involve fighting a new opponent, and other times it can be as simple as the class is opening a restaurant for, because it's like a school event, and, seeing what that entails. But with Assassination Classroom, it was always slightly wacky. There was more often than not character development in at least one person in the class. There was normally, a lot of wacky humor involved. This definitely is a lot more straightforward, like seriously fighting a monster and a little bit of exploring a character. Like the first monster they fight, well, I guess they're all hollows, but the first hollow they fight explores Orihime's sort of backstory with her brother who died, which, to be honest, didn't really get me too hooked into Orihime as a character. The second one is like, I'm trying to remember. I think the second one is like this.
I think
parrot.
The second one was the bird.
Yeah, the bird, where it's like this boy whose mom got killed by the serial killer, and the serial killer turned into a hollow, and they eventually sends the hollow straight to hell. Then there's the doppelganger.
That was raw.
Yeah,
when Ichigo kills that hollow, instead of it like passing on in the normal way, the fucking gates of hell rise from his corpse, and then they fucking drag him in by impaling him.
Quick aside, the song that comes on during that scene, My God, that is such a good song. And actually,
Yeah, I will say the soundtrack to this show pretty good.
I agree completely.
Uh,
There are at least
the
two
sad
songs.
song that plays with the piano.
That one didn't necessarily stick out to me as much, but the ones that did stick out to me are the one that plays when they're like opening the gates of hell, and then there's like this one song while it plays a few times while they're fighting hollows, and it just sounds like really fun. I will definitely put that on like a YouTube, like my YouTube anime music playlist, because I don't use Spotify because I'm a heathen.
It's okay. I don't use Spotify either.
Nice.
I prefer to own the music that I listen to and not just listen to. I don't want to listen to everything. I want to listen to the things that I like. Which
I will say that
probably
the monster
piss people
of the
off
week...
because they'll be like, you could just find things that you like on Spotify. But yeah, that's a discussion for
Yeah.
another day.
I will say that I think the formula gets better as the show goes on. I think the first few arcs with it are kind of weak, but then once we get into Ichigo's backstory with his mom, and then episode 10, which is just a lot of fun and probably my favorite episode on a pure enjoyment level, those are, I think, the peak of Bleach so far, and considering those were the last few episodes I saw, it does, butter me up a little bit for what's to come, and it does give me a little hope that maybe the future episodes will be really fun.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm just not big into Monster of the Week type stuff, because here's the my biggest criticism of Bleach thus far. This is supposed to be a shonen battle series, right?
Yep.
All of the battles have been not special. Or
Yep.
not cool.
Well, okay, there's
granted,
one cool moment. Right?
There is also a cool moment that I took a special note of.
All right,
but I'll let you say yours first. I want to see if it's the same one.
Rukia, in episode 4, Rukia like knees this monster in the face, and the way it's animated is so good. They literally used it like at the beginning of the next episode just because it was that awesome.
That wasn't definitely a cool moment, but the moment that I was thinking of was when Ichigo is fighting the hollow that's controlling the bird, and he catches the little toads that he not toads, leeches that he can detonate by reverberating his tongue, and he punches them while he's got them all closed up in his fist, punches through his teeth and jams them down his throat, and he's like, yeah, fucking blow him up, I dare you, motherfucker. And then it's like, all right, well, if you're not gonna use your tongue, then you don't fucking need it. Clearly you don't need it then. And he rips his tongue out of his mouth.
That is another pretty good moment. Yeah. I guess my biggest problem with the fight scenes in the show, all right? And granted, I'm going to preface this with what I usually say, which is that I'm not an action boy, right? I don't like action series that much in general. The one I do like is Katanagatari, and that's written by Nisio Isin, so it's weird as hell. But the one thing I normally look for in an action scene is like the strategy the characters are using and whether or not that strategy is interesting. I see it as sort of like trying to outdo the opponent more on a mental level than a physical one. The physical level just, for the most part, bores me, whereas sort of like the mind games and tactics involved, those are what really hook me into a fight on a fighting level. Obviously, some of the more like outdoing opponents on a physical level can be carried by the emotions of the scene, but in terms of like pure fighting, tactics are what I'm looking for. And this show doesn't really have that so far. I mean, I guess the one moment you mentioned of him like punching the monster to where he couldn't detonate the leeches because they were literally right there in front of his face and would have hurt him. That is a little bit of tactics, like him ripping out the tongue. But other than that, it's mostly just keep on fighting till you win.
Yeah, that was like the only moment of strategy in like the whole fucking 10 episodes we've seen thus far. Cause like all the other fights essentially boil down to hit him with the sword till it dies, cut off its limbs when it's doing a limb thing, aim for the mask.
I guess there's also get a pep talk from your mom, and then you'll get the emotional resolve to win the fight. Which, I mean, I guess that is emotionally cathartic in on a level.
Get a pep talk from Rukia. Get instructions from Rukia.
Yeah, also
then you can
that.
swing your sword better.
Overall, I'm just not really hooked into the fighting in this show that much. It is watchable, you know. It's not horrible.
Dude, imagine the fucking horrible parallel universe we could be living in if this came out today and all of the hollows were CG.
Oh my god.
You know they'd fucking do it. Not to say that the hollows here are incredibly well animated, but
I mean, to be
they're
fair,
definitely...
It's Weekly Shonen Jump. You sort of... You're not coming here for incredible animation.
What the fuck are you talking about? That's like the thing people come for the most.
It is?
The animation in a shonen? Fuck yeah!
Well, I meant specifically the long-running ones, where, like, you need to, you know, you can't...
Fuck yeah!
Still?
Well, obviously... obviously you can't do it in every single episode. But, because, like, you know, you gotta, you can't... Sometimes you gotta let the story do its thing, and while you could tell a story, like, through a fight, you know, sometimes you gotta have... You can't always be fighting. You know, sometimes you can't be animating that in, like, the most high-octane, intense way possible. But one of the reasons people come to these shonens is, like, while they're getting a good story, they also want some cool-looking fights.
Okay, I thought the weekly ones were, like, generally going to be, like, kind of, like, not much budget per episode, because you gotta, like, divvy that out. I guess I stand corrected. I mean,
No, dude. All right, well, it'll... I mean, I have no doubt that it'll happen in Bleach as we go along. I can tell you part of why these fights are so uninteresting right now is because there's not much of a back and forth as you would in, like, as, like, a normal fight. Like, no one is really getting the upper hand, and, like, there's no interesting push and pull. The best way I can break this down is that, you know, in a normal fight scene, or, like, you think of, like, a typical fight scene in any show, it's usually one person versus another person. But this is Monster of the Week, and we're fighting these giant hollow ghost monsters, which are usually, like, beast-like, or insect-like. And they have different powers. Like, some of them have, like, exploding leech toads, some of them have hair impalement, some of them have, like, you know, big claws, but there's not an interesting fight between two people. And, like, that's the best way I can describe it right now to someone who doesn't watch and doesn't even enjoy a lot of action scenes. Seeing two, like, people just fight. Obviously, if there's a story behind it, it makes it more entertaining. But even, like, just seeing a well-choreographed, well-animated fight could, like, just get you hyped all on its own when there's, like... What can a hollow do that is, like, gives them an advantage more than just doing a big monster swing, whereas Ichigo can only do a thing to them, like the same thing to them, which is just swing the sword better. When we're gonna get to the show later, when we get, like, two Soul Reaper guys swinging their swords at each other, or even, like, even in Demon Slayer, when you were let me ask you, when you were watching Demon Slayer, when Tanjiro was fighting the demons, and he was fighting... Actually, wait, let me, before I ask this, how far did you get in Demon Slayer again? Did you watch all of it?
All of the first season.
Okay, so how would you say the fights are in Demon Slayer compared to the fights you've seen so far in Bleach?
To be fair, Demon Slayer was a long time ago for me, but from what I remember, there were a lot more moments where Tanjiro was on the brink, where it was like, I really need to, you know, pull through, but I don't know how. it seems impossible right now, but then he finds a way.
Yeah, there's like a level of strategy. He has to like figure out how to use a technique in the best way. Like I remember when he's fighting the dude with the drums on his chest and he was like rotating the room. Like that was an interesting mechanic that they were introducing to the fight. But with these hollows so far, they don't have interesting power sets to see collide with each other. Granted, Ichigo is also going to develop interesting powers as well, because right now all he has is sword. But later he's going to develop all kinds of powers, and that's what makes these shonen fights interesting, when we see the collision of these different powers. And that's why the fights in JoJo are so entertaining. You liked the fights in Stone Ocean, right?
Oh yeah, they were all very entertaining.
Yeah, because that was what makes the JoJo fights so entertaining, despite them being Monster of the Week kind of shows, because it's basically stand user of the week. What makes them entertaining is because they all have unique, specific powers, and we get to see them play off of each other. And it's like, oh, because I'm fighting, normally my power only does this, which is, beneficial, but against this one guy who can like specifically counter my power, I either have to, call in my friend who can counter their power, or I have to like come up with a new way of using my power in order to win. Or being like, oh, because now I'm fighting this person, I can use my power in this entirely new way that I never thought of before. And it's a way interesting back and forth. Like even, I'm thinking back to the fight between Jolene and Weather Report versus the gravity defying dude, and how like so many twists and turns happened in that fight compared to these fights with Ichigo and the Hollows. Okay, what did he do? He swung his sword better. Oh, bravo! I'm so engaged.
I mean, with JoJo's, it was like the point. The point to me in each fight seems to be get each character on the brink as much as possible, just going back and forth, which was always very enjoyable to watch. And yeah, that definitely doesn't really happen in Bleach. There's not really a moment where it seems like all hope is lost. Or like even when in Katanagatari, like it's rare that even the main character thinks all hope is lost, but it still achieves that push and pull where it's like at the beginning the opponent usually has some weird, oddly specific strategy, and the push and pull then comes, okay, how do I counter this? Even if Shichika is sure he can counter it, he still has to think, or have Togame do the thinking for him.
Yeah, and I'm also not saying that every fight scene has to have one character like be pushed to the absolute limit in order for it to be entertaining. But I'm just saying sure. There just has to be interesting dynamics at play. There has to be a cause and effect, a chain of events that is constantly evolving. It can't be a static fight of just Ichigo swinging his sword, Hollow swings a claw, which is like what most of these fights have been up until this point. Yeah, even the one Soul Reaper on Soul Reaper fight we had with what's his face, Saito, whatever his name is, when Ichigo fought him for like a minute, it was just like a normal sword fight.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for some more interesting use of tactics, specifically in this. Specifically in like an action series like this, or like more, like you said, push and pull, more dynamic fights. Right now, it's just kind of hit sword, do damage.
That is the biggest concern that I have about Bleach as a whole, because I can, even though I said I can tell you, I guarantee you the fights will get more complicated. I don't know the extent of exactly how complicated they'll get, because we'll see characters develop powers and see those powers clash against each other. But one of the reasons people tend to shit on Bleach when talking about popular shonen, and to throw another one in there, when people are talking about shonen that they don't like, Fairy Tail, the reasons that these two like get singled out for being shitters is that from what I've heard from detractors and even some fans of these properties, their powers and their like developments of their characters are very static. they're not like shows like Naruto or One Piece or even Dragon Ball or shit like My Hero Jojo or even Demon Slayer. I haven't seen Jujutsu Kaisen yet. I know you have seen Jujutsu Kaisen out, or at least some of it. I don't know if any of those fights have. Do any of the fights in Jujutsu Kaisen have interesting dynamics going on?
They do. Yeah, like there are moments when it seems like, the main character is literally about to die. And where it's like, this opponent is so overwhelmingly powerful, and I have no idea how I could possibly overtake it, stuff like that. And also just wacky powers in general. Like Jujutsu Kaisen really rode off of it just being fucking insane.
Yeah, and then what people love about those shows is that the characters don't just like power up to their super duper pooper scooper maximum new level of power and then like punch the guy harder, and that's how they win. They employ strategy, and they employ like, okay, I can't just get like power up to punch harder than I've ever punched before. I have to use this power, even if they develop a new power mid-fight that makes them stronger. They still have to be like, okay, I gotta use it in a creative way, or use it in a way like Luffy has to, when he's up against an opponent that is stronger than he is, he has to, okay, this opponent has like a weakness, like when he's fighting this guy named Crocodile who has sand powers that makes him untouchable. Like every time Luffy tries to punch him, he just turns his body into sand and it goes right through him, and then he just hits Luffy. Luffy figures out, okay, he's a sand guy, but if I'm a rubber guy and I can hold a large amount of water in my body that I can shoot out at him. So if I can hit him with some water, because he's sandy, he can't get hit by water, else he'll like turn to mush. Then I can fight him. It's like stuff like that. That's what separates good dynamic shonen fights from bad, oh, I'm gonna get so super strong and hit harder. Which I know some shonen fans are gonna accuse me of being like, oh, doesn't Dragon Ball Z, one of your favorite anime of all time, literally do the same thing? When it's bad, yes, it will do that. But they will, at the very least, Dragon Ball will tie like power-ups into character development. Like, someone could make the argument to me that Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is just he's not employing any strategy against Cell. He's just powered up to this new level of strength and is just now stronger than Cell, and now he is beating Cell. And that's why Cell versus Gohan is not a good fight, but Gohan becoming Super Saiyan 2, achieving this level of power that's been hinted at since episode 1 of Dragon Ball Z, and him finally reaching that apex is one of the greatest moments in all of anime, because it's a big emotional climax that we've been building for the whole time, and now we finally see Gohan change as a character because of it. And that's why it's good, whereas what we've seen so far in Bleach has been uninteresting. I have not gotten invested in a single fight scene outside of the occasional, oh, that one moment was cool.
Pretty much. Well, I think we've
and
been
if your action isn't good in a shonen, that's like a fucking death sentence.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, some of these entire episodes are basically fight scenes. And like, none of them are unwatchable just because the characters are okay, and I do have some level of investment. Specifically Rukia, like, I care about her the most. I mean, we both...
And she does the least amount of fighting!
Yeah.
Chad does more fighting than she does.
I think the fight that was most interesting to me, and this is purely on an emotional level, right? But episodes 8 and 9 with Ichigo's backstory were probably the times when I was most hooked into the action, because there are emotional stakes there. And also the point where I was most hooked on Ichigo's character, which I guess we can get into that since we were hinting at it while we were talking about Ichigo's character earlier.
Yeah, I am interested to see how they're going to play up uh the thing about him building up that delinquent tough guy persona when he used to be just a big smiling crybaby when he was a kid. But ever since his mom died and he blamed himself for it, he was like, all right, I just gotta be tough. I just gotta be like this tough guy. I gotta close my feelings off from everyone else.
I wonder if him thinking he killed his mom is part of the reason that he thinks of himself as a bad guy.
Probably.
Yeah, like part of the reason why he's LARPing as a delinquent.
And I do find it interesting that like he claims that like all these people that all his classmates that he like sees all the time and like hangs out with more than we see him hang out with other people. Like he spends most of his time when he's not with Rukia around these people. He doesn't really consider them friends. Like he doesn't consider Orihime a friend. He doesn't really interact with Tatsuki that much, even though they've been childhood friends since they were like 4, I think.
Yeah, with the fighting at the dojo they did.
And it makes me wonder, like, are they gonna go for a thing where like Ichigo, because he's like put himself in this persona, he doesn't like realize what he's got. Like that he does have friends, but like he can't let him think that he has let himself think that he has friends.
Mm-mm.
But because he's gonna go on this big shonen adventure and he's gonna find himself and he's gonna fight for his friends because that's what you do in shonen. You fuck with my friends, you fuck with me.
Maybe that'll, come around and make me more interested in Ichigo's character. I will say that this backstory of his is like the most interesting his character has ever been. That backstory of like feeling guilty over his mom's passing and, fighting the person, or I guess the hollow, who actually did cause it. But that is just traditionally interesting character stuff right there. And it is, I remember the first time watching it, right? Because these were the final 2 episodes that I watched on my initial, going through Bleach way back when. And this was, like, up until that point, I was mostly disinterested, at times bored, at others kind of hooked in to what was happening. And I remember seeing that and being like, this is actually kind of good. This is actually, interesting character stuff. It's not the most complex out there, but it does get me, more invested in Ichigo, and it is a very, a lot more interesting than what was shown up to that point. So it did make me more excited for the show back then and its potential of being good. This time around, I will say on rewatch, it does suffer a little bit, just because like it didn't quite surprise me so much because it got as emotionally intense as it did. I was more just passively consuming it like, yep, this is the arc I've seen before.
Meanwhile, I was sold on fucking Deku's character by the end of episode 2. I was like, this is one of the greatest shonen characters I've ever seen in my life.
That is fast.
Because they front-loaded 2 of the best episodes of the show in season 1. And you dropped it. And you're gonna really fucking make me watch My Hero Academia, remember when it was good, and then eventually have to go back to when it was bad, just so I could pry your eyes open to the truth. To make you see the light.
I wouldn't be against doing that, like I said earlier. I do, so I guess I like this arc, but I'm still not as hooked into Ichigo's character as I want to be.
I'm very interested to see, because I didn't look into this. I was planning on doing this before the podcast, but I didn't have a chance to. I was gonna look up how Bleach fans feel about the substitute arc in comparison to all the other arcs of Bleach.
Probably not very strongly. I mean, I imagine it gets a lot better from this point forward.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Obviously, I can't imagine any Bleach fan being like, "Oh yeah, the substitute arc is my favorite arc of Bleach." Knowing some of the things that happen in the future, but I can't. Like, obviously, something's gotta give in order for because if this, like you said before, if this was all Bleach was, there's no way it would be this popular, this renowned.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, it's kind of
And maybe we're talking out of our asses here, and then the Bleach fans in the comments will be like, "Oh, dude, like literally the next 10 episodes of the substitute arc are gonna turn the entire fucking dynamic of the show on its head."
All right, here's a question. What did you think about episode 10? Just that one episode.
It definitely felt like we were going back from story development from the episodes 8 and 9 of the Ichigo's backstory being explored with his mom and shit. Back to the status quo of Monster of the Week type shit. It was more entertaining than usual. I appreciate Monster of the Week more when it's like just one and done episodes rather than having to drag it out to 2 episodes fighting the same uninteresting monster. I appreciated the humor of this one, if only because there were a lot of good, cute Rukia moments. She did a cute, funny drawing. She did the bwahaha. I like when she tried to put on the glove that pushes Ichigo's soul out of his body. She got immediately tackled by security guards. And she had a really cute, surprised look on her face.
This is my favorite episode of the show so far, honestly. Like, even better than like Ichigo's arc with the monster, because like I said, upon rewatching it, I was like, this is just less interested than I was before, and maybe it would have let me down the first time. Like, if I had watched it directly after episodes 8 and 9 the first time I saw it, maybe episode 10 would have been like a letdown to me, and I do still feel a little disappointed that it isn't going in a more, structured arc direction. But as a one-off episode, like, I think it's just really enjoyable and really fun. I especially like Kananji's character. I think that's his name.
Don Kanaji, I think. They didn't explain how he's actually able to see spirits, though. They say,
yeah.
I thought he was gonna be like a Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball type shit, where he's like, he pretends that he's like, oh, I'm the best fucking soul catcher spirit man in the whole world. But I thought he was just gonna be full of shit. And it's just gonna be like every other ghost show on the planet. But no, he actually can see spirits and does possess a lot of spirit energy and is even able to fight off a hollow for a little bit. So it's like, is he like a soul soul reaper? Like what is he? But they don't really explain it. I don't know.
Yeah, now that you bring that up, it is kind of interesting that they just sort of leave that for the time being. But I mean, maybe they go back to it in episode 11 and try to explain it. Or like Ichigo is like, what the hell was that, Rukia? And Rukia
assuming
like,
he ever shows up in the show again, he's not just a one-off character.
Assuming that is a pretty big assumption, admittedly.
I would not be surprised if he was a one-off character.
And if he is a one-off character and they don't explain it, that is sort of a loose end. So
I did like how he was essentially the embodiment of what shonen is. I like his little explanation to Ichigo and like why he can't run is because you know how many people watch my show? Like 1 in 4 people in Japan watch my shit. And you know who's my primary audience are? Children. And like when they see me and they see me fighting these ghosts and being courageous in the face of evil spirits, and it gives them courage too to like tackle the problems in their own life. And so if I can give the children that courage myself, then I have succeeded in what I set out to do.
I really like Kananji as a one-off character because, like, at first I thought he'd be this generic, he's pretending to fight ghosts, but he's, like, not actually. And, like, he does have a sort of eccentric personality, and he's also, like, prodding at like the hole in the one hollow's chest, and I thought it was gonna be like just this, kind of like stuck up guy or like annoying character who unintentionally causes a bunch of harm, but is not really redeemable. But then he like actually can see ghosts, and his entire TV show is true, and he thought he was busting them the entire time, because how it works is that when you prod at the hole in a hollow or like in a ghost's chest when they're about to turn into a hollow, like erase the last bit of the hole,
it speeds up the process.
Yeah, it speeds up the process of them turning into a hollow, and they teleport. Generally speaking, they teleport away from where they were. So he thinks he's like, because they just disappear, he's like, oh, I led them to the afterlife. When in actuality, normally
he's been making hollows this whole time.
Yeah. And the only reason this one teleported right next to him is because it was a special type of hollow, which is connected to the area that they're specifically in, because he has like a regrets and attachment to this specific place. And so he like never meant harm, and in fact was trying to do good this entire time. Then when he figures out what he's doing, he's like genuinely remorseful and like actually in tears, and like seems like a really decent guy. And it's like, wow, like you completely changed my impression of this character within a single episode. Like, mad props. That is a feat. And I thought he was just a very, very likable character.
If I didn't think he was a one-off character, I thought he would have made an interesting mentor teacher type character, like a cool sensei for Ichigo.
He would be a cool sensei. That guy's got rock solid morals.
How do you feel about Cone?
He's the comic relief character, and he is kind of funny as a lion. The backstory with like mod souls, I guess that's kind of interesting, but overall, just kind of like he's all right. He's not annoying or anything, and he does have.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of liked him before they put him into the lion body, because I was like, oh man, he's like the first character to have, like, besides Rukia and maybe like Chad and maybe Ichigo, to have like a solid set of like an ideology to present. Because what was cool about the Mod Soul backstory was that it showed like a little darkness behind the Soul Society, because we think up until this point that they're all good guys who fight hollows and let souls pass on to the afterlife. But the whole thing with the Mod Souls is that they were created by the Soul Society to fight against hollows, but the way they were done, they were like create artificial souls and then place them inside corpses, and to essentially turn the dead into soldiers to fight against the hollow. But then when they shut down the project, because they were like, you know what, desecrating the dead like this is kind of fucked up, so now we're going to end this program, and not only are we not going to make any more mod souls, we are going to kill and wipe out all of the existing mod souls just so we can like clean slate this whole thing and put it behind us. And it's like, wow, that's kind of fucked up to create these lives, put them in bodies that you did on your own. They didn't have a choice, and now you're gonna kill them anyway. That's kind of fucked up.
Yep, major fucky right there. But
and then Cone gets this ideology that's like, it's not really fair for me to be wiped out, like, because he was created the day before they decided to shut down the project. So he was like, all right, so like what, one day after I was created, now I have to die because the people who created me said that I didn't deserve life? That's messed up. So now my ideology is that everyone should be allowed a chance to live regardless of their origins. And that's why he saved those kids from the hollow, even though they pissed him off by reminding him of when he was thrown away like trash and should have just been erased, because it's everyone who is alive should be allowed to live their life. No, he is against killing. He is Batman.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, I wonder how far he goes with like the never kill ideology, because I mean, his logic's basically like everyone has a right to choose when they die, basically, or like, essentially has a right to die of old age or sickness or whatever may come. Instead
Yeah,
of
no one
just
should
having
have their
it
life
away.
taken from
Yeah.
them.
I wonder if he
So-
extends that to like actually
Villains?
evil person or evil people. Yeah.
I guess we'll see as the show develops, which I'm also only half expecting because I feel like now that he has been reduced to mascot character comic relief stuffed animal guy, I was like, okay, well, he can't fight when he's like that. So like what was the point of giving him this interesting ideology and building him up as a character if you're just going to reduce him to the comic relief punching bag?
I mean, I do like him. I think he's funnier as a lion, and it is kind of cute and kind of funny. I do hope they do more with like his ideology in the future. But I mean, in general, I was never really hooked on Khan in the first place. So
I wouldn't say I was hooked on him. I was just like, oh, okay, this is like an interesting thing that they're doing. It would be a shame if it got thrown away for the sake of, hey, what if I became this like guy who like constantly talks and like never shuts up and is also now just gonna be like the team punching bag because I'm a stuffed animal now.
I definitely didn't feel the same way. I was just kind of like, I wasn't disappointed per se, because I
don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and Cone becomes the strongest fucking life form in the Bleach universe, but I highly doubt it.
I mean, if they do go that direction, that would be great.
I'll eat my words if that happens, but I highly doubt it.
He's probably just gonna be a punching bag, admittedly. I want to talk briefly, now that we were on Kon, to Kisuke Urahara, because I really love his character design. His character design is my favorite in the entire show. Really immediately in like his character design basically
Tells you about what his
carries-
character is.
Yeah. His design carries the character to me. No, his
Well, that's
thing-
because he just hasn't done much so
Yeah.
far.
which I'm hoping he does more so far. He probably will, because I mean that's too iconic of a design not to use for something in the future. He's sort of
I
like
will
this-
say the only thing I hate about his design is that the stripes on his hat bother me. That they're not perfectly symmetrical in the sense that like they go down in lines like all uniformly. In the front of his hat, if he's like looking forward, there's a part where like the stripe on like the top part of the hat goes down, but when it reaches the brim, it diverges into two different stripes, and that bothers me. I'm like, it's no longer symmetrical.
it doesn't
Like, it's no longer
bother
a
me.
uniform design.
I like him because he's like this shabby old dude and like who like gets by with this illegal business that he isn't supposed to have according to the higher ups at the Soul Society, and that's why they let Rukia. I don't know why I forgot that. Why he lets Rukia keep the mod soul, because she's like, oh, you're illegal anyway. You shouldn't care about us having Kun. He's like, yeah, I guess I shouldn't care. So he just leaves them alone. You know, sort of like this washed up old man. When I saw him, I was like, oh, this is definitely a Meimei Oshino type character. And then I remembered what Casual had DM'd me once, which is that Nisio brain rot goes hard. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't compare everything to Monogatari.
Now, once we get you indoctrinated into enough shonens, then you'll start comparing shonen characters to other shonen characters as God intended.
Someday, perhaps. Right now, my only references are all the weird shonens and Demon Slayer.
God save your soul. I'll be the one to save your soul. I'll pull it out from the dredges.
I'll be purified.
I say as
and
like,
turn
hey,
into-
let's watch Bleach. Let's watch the worst popular shonen.
Why is it even called that?
No one knows.
No one knows?
No, that straight up, like, Bleach, the word, and even, like, if you were to call it, you know how One Piece is called One Piece because the treasure they're looking for is called the One Piece?
Yeah.
Nothing in Bleach is called the Bleach.
I mean, that would be really funny, to be fair.
Maybe, I'm gonna see if there has been an answer. I think, like, the whole thing of the show is that Kubo was like, I'm just gonna call it something that, like, is recognizable. Why is Bleach called Bleach? The first title he came up with was Black, but as he explained in an interview, he felt that it was too simple a title, as was the inversion, White. So Kubo changed White to Bleach, referring to how he bleached the black clothes of the Reapers to give his new shonen manga an unexpected name.
I mean, it is unexpected, and it is quite memorable. It's just kind of nonsensical as well.
I'm also seeing things that's like, one of the okay, there is also symbolic reason why it's called Bleach, but they never, the reason why it's called is so much confusion is because they never referred to this in the show. You can say that it's called Bleach because, you know, when you bleach your clothes, you're removing the stains, removing the impurities, so to speak, and the Soul Reapers are purifying the hollows, the people who were turned into hollows when they died, and sending their souls to the afterlife. They are essentially bleaching their souls from being impure and stained and evil to being clean and good.
All I know is that I like the title because I can make so many Bleach puns.
Yeah, Kubo, I wonder if he would have changed the title had he had the foresight to know that people would take consuming Bleach as a derogatory meme.
I mean, hey, it's really funny to say, oh yeah, I just consumed some Bleach. Yeah, I spent yesterday consuming a lot of Bleach.
Oh, I was binging Bleach, dude. Binge drinking Bleach.
Yeah.
I had a Bleach chaser.
Yeah, I watched, 3 episodes of I don't know, like One Piece, and then I had a chaser with Bleach.
I guess we'll just go through the remaining characters that matter. I think the only ones that we haven't gone through yet are Ichigo's family.
His
They
dad
exist.
is kind of funny, in just that he's so wacky and out there. I like the design of Karen, which also I almost made a Monogatari reference. I caught myself halfway through.
Crunchy Bagels is like, oh man, this sees a playground. This reminds me of Monogatari.
You did that for Yofukashi. I don't want to hear that.
No, I'm saying you see a playground in real life, and you'll do that. You'll see a
the
fucking
meme's gonna
swing set.
become real.
You'll see a fucking stapler and be like, oh man,
This is
you
a
see
really
scene moment.
Hitagi reference IRL. Oh my god.
Oh my god, toothbrush. Monogatari much?
But it is funny how both Monogatari and Bleach have a character named Karen, who is the main character's little sister.
It's pronounced Kareen, you filthy
Kareen.
American.
Fine, Kareen. I do like Kareen's design, though. It is very...
Yeah, the character designs across the board are pretty good. Kubo has always been really good at designing characters. Definitely, as much as he loves designing characters, he loves more putting them in cool outfits.
Yep.
In fact, I would think I don't know if he'd even admit it in public, but he probably is a closet, or rather enjoys being a costume designer more than a character designer.
I would not be surprised.
But yeah, especially if you would compare the art in Bleach from like volume 1 of the manga to the last volume, you'd be like, oh man, this guy fucking elevated his own work. he improves.
I have not seen those sorts of comparisons yet. Of like,
Maybe I'll show them to you after the podcast.
all right. But I do.
Um,
I think the little sisters are good for what role in the story they have so far. You know, Karin's the jaded, cynical sister, whereas I forget her name, but the other
Yuzu.
who, say her name again.
Yuzu.
Yuzu. Yuzu's sort of like the she's taken the role of her mother and is more optimistic, and does most of the housework.
They exist to me.
Uh,
They just kind of there.
Yeah, they're mostly there to be continuously saved by Ichigo, admittedly. You know, they are people who Ichigo cares about and who will be emotionally driven to save, as opposed to just morally driven to save. So it's there to sort of ratchet up the tension whenever we need a fight to go down. Like, oh, just have his sisters be there. Okay, now he gets to be all emotional about it. But I mean, at least they do have a noticeable personality, and at least I really like Karin's design. Fuck.
Yeah, I really love Rukia's design. I love how no matter what angle you look at her face, she always has the that one strand of hair that goes in the perfect diagonal line. Like, it'll never not be in that diagonal line down her face.
I do really like Rukia's design. I'm looking at all the designs right now. I'd say she's probably my second favorite design after Kisuke. And then Karin. I just really like her design personally. Like, I think she looks great.
Yeah, Kubo's good at drawing characters. And Pierrot did a good job translating them. Sometimes some of them go a little off model and has that mid 2000s anime quality of being like a little sloppy, a little off model. But it's mostly good.
Yeah. I think the show overall looks as good as it needs to be.
I definitely prefer the look of Naruto. Hey, I gotta make sure. I'm pretty sure Naruto's anime came out before Bleach's anime. Naruto anime. Okay, it started in 2002, 2 years before Bleach, by the same studio. I preferred the look of Naruto.
Let me look at Naruto real quick. Just a quick look at one of the episodes, or like a still frame from it.
Look up Naruto episode 1 on Google Images and see
Naruto
how you feel
episode
about
1.
it.
All right.
I'm gonna do the same thing just so I can have the mental image in my head.
All right.
Granted, also Naruto has the benefit of having a more interesting setting than Bleach does. Bleach is just Japan right now, whereas Naruto has a ninja village.
I'm looking at a few still frames of the show right now, and honestly, I think I'd have to wait a bit long, like actually watch the episode and get used to the style to actually determine if it's better than Bleach.
Yeah, I would say it definitely a better comparison to watch the episodes.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll take the fucking Naruto plunge.
Oh no.
That's gonna be a... Oh yeah, last thing I wanted to mention about us covering Bleach, we are not watching the filler episodes. I refuse.
I mean, don't they take up like a third of the show?
Okay, let me look this up. Bleach filler guide. Let's check the... Okay, it was reported by like a bunch of people. Bleach's filler percentage is about 45%.
45%.
Nearly half of the show can be considered filler. And we're not talking like... You could argue some of these episodes, like... You could probably cut out the episode 10 from the story and it probably wouldn't affect the grand overarching narrative that much, but like all of the episodes that we're watching in this arc are all canon to the manga. This shit, like going for like the whole show, like the 45%, that is all things that were made up exclusively for the anime.
And I think the anime has some like correct me if I'm
There are
wrong. on this,
entire
but-
arcs.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there are entire made up arcs exclusive to the anime that were not in the manga, and we're not going to be covering that. So sorry to all the big Bount arc fans. We just can't, bro. There's already, we're probably going to end up covering the show in like 10 episode chunks. So it's this series is already going to be like 20 parts long.
All right. I know how people feel about filler in general, but how do people feel about the anime exclusive arcs? Like, are those well liked?
I couldn't tell you. I have
Alright.
no idea.
Bleach fans in the comments, please regale me.
Yeah, we'll look into this after the podcast, and we'll and also please let us know in the comments. We'll definitely be checking in. And yeah, anything that is considered a complete filler episode will allow mixed canon and filler, because there's some episodes that like they make up content for the anime but also wrap it around manga canon stuff. We just can't, dude. I don't want to watch a whole fucking 40 episode arc knowing that none of this shit actually matters to the story, really.
To be
I
fair,
just can't do it.
Like a lot of, like, originally when we like first floated the idea of doing Bleach, I wanted to actually watch the filler, just to, like watch the entire anime and be like, okay, I watched all of this. But honestly, thinking about it now, it's like, specifically the like all the one-off filler episodes, I imagine, where like it's just a self-contained story. I can't imagine watching that. Like maybe the filler arcs would be like fine enough for me to watch, but like,
Dude, like
it's not.
let me tell you the filler episode breakdown for just like the first 100 episodes. Okay, so episode 33 is the first entire filler episode. That episode, then we don't reach another full filler until episode 50, and then episodes 64 through 108, all filler.
Bruh.
That's 44 episodes.
That is nightmare.
I can't do it, Bob. I just can't. Sorry.
What are the filler episodes like for like other shonen?
Oh, it's like just as bad. Let me pull up Naruto. 41%. But keep in mind, that's OG Naruto. For Shippuden, 40%. And Shippuden is 500 episodes long, and 40% of it is filler. So 201 episodes of Shippuden, or at least over 200 episodes, are filler.
All right, I'm looking up. I looked up One Piece filler right now. Apparently, only 10% of the show is filter.
Well, that's because One Piece is a fucking 100 volumes long.
True.
But
So, I mean,
also
I guess
keep in mind though, One Piece is also currently like 1,030 episodes long, and even though only 9% of it is filler, that's about like nearly 100 episodes.
True.
So you could if you ever wanted to sit down and be like, you know what, I'm gonna watch. This is the month that I'm finally gonna watch One Piece, or like the next few months. You could chunk out a tenth of the time by just cutting out the shit that doesn't matter. And maybe some of the filler arcs are good, but like, I want to get the full story that was originally intended by the author.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk Boruto,
Oh god, how much of that is filler?
holy fucking shit, dude. 76%.
What?
There are about 264 episodes of Boruto. 200 of them? Filler.
Why? Why? How do you make
Because the
that much
anime
filler?
came out like right around the time that the manga of Boruto started, or at least very soon after.
But why would
At this
anyone
point,
make that
Boruto is more
decision?
anime. Yeah, Boruto is like more anime than manga.
Like, that is a perplexing decision to me.
I think that is just about it for the first 10 episodes of Bleach. Do you have any other thoughts?
I can't really think of any. I'm trying to, like, we talked about the characters, the visuals. Yep, that's about it. Overall,
Alright, well-
I hope it gets more interesting in the future. And I hope if we do have, more one-off episodes or two-off episodes, that they're more like the latter 3 rather than the former 7. So, yeah, those are my final thoughts. And as for whether or not you should consume Bleach, based on the first 10 episodes, maybe.
Rukia mentioned a Soul Reaper school, and I'm just sitting here being like, we gotta get to that school yesterday, amigo.
I feel like
I
once
need
we
some story
actually,
shit to happen.
I feel like once we actually get to the Soul Society, or I mean, wait, isn't the Soul Society like heaven or whatever? So maybe not the Soul Society itself, but yeah, the school.
It's not necessarily like heaven, it's just like the spirit realm, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. So once we get to those areas that aren't just here's an ordinary high school. Now I feel like once we actually get away from those locales and into more like locales specifically for like all this soul society and letting spirits pass on, all that sort of stuff. I feel like then it'll get more interesting. I hope we're nearly done with Monster of the Week. That's about it.
Alright, so now the last thing to talk about is how long do we put off the next part of the Substitute arc cast? Another 6 months? A year?
I mean, hey, we gotta keep the meme going.
We'll probably... I at least want to get the Substitute arc done before the end of this season. The initial plan of trying to watch all of Bleach before the final season comes out is super fucking dead and buried.
I mean, hey, daily uploads, bro. We gotta do that daily uploads grind set.
What I'm hoping for is that by the time we catch up, maybe the I don't know how long the 1,000 Year Blood War arc will be for the anime, but hopefully it will run long enough so that way by the time we finish watching Bleach, we can either like get to the final season of Bleach when it's either done or maybe even it'll still be ongoing and then we can catch up there.
I mean, how do you know how long it's supposed to be, like based on the manga?
I have no fucking clue.
All right.
I think I remember. Let me fact check this one last thing before we sign off. Oh shit! The 1,000 Year Blood War arc is the longest arc in Bleach.
Okay.
It takes up about 29% of the entire manga. It is the longest arc of the manga.
I mean, it does have 1,000 year in the title.
It's 208 chapters.
So I guess it'll be...
Maybe we can. We're definitely not going to get to when it premiered, but maybe we can catch up before it ends. That is a distinct possibility, actually.
Maybe. Depends on how often, because we plan on juggling a lot for the podcast soon. Like, we have the Owl House, Sangatsu thing, 3 seasonals. If you include Made in Abyss season 2.
We'll get back to this one in September. And then, depending on how weak the fall season is, fall season's gonna have Chainsaw Man. Maybe Blue Lock will be good. And we gotta juggle Owl House and March Comes Like a Lion. We'll see. We'll make an effort to keep Bleach in the rotation.
We will make an effort, but it seems daunting. At least from my perspective.
We picked the shortest shonen because it was the most convenient. Imagine if we picked fucking One Piece.
Well, that would never get done. Dude, we'd be dead before we finished that.
Even if we cut it out, there'd still be 900 episodes of One Piece. And it would still, you know what the problem is? It would still be ongoing. Like, even if we only did 10 episodes at a time, enough time would pass to be like, okay, you know those 10 episodes that you did before? Your next recording session will be in 10 weeks, and now 10 more episodes will come out. Oops.
One Piece
I don't
for
think
the
I'll-
podcast would be a nightmare. I mean, I guess we can start it when the show ends. If it ends.
Yeah, maybe we could catch up if we exclusively if we became a One Piece channel.
You know, when
That's
we're
profitable.
when we're both 40-something years old and One Piece has finally stopped airing, maybe then, if this podcast is still around, we can do it. we can cover it. And then we'll be 60 by the time we finish it.
Alright, well, I think that'll just about do it for this episode of Castaway Anime. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a like. Head on down to the comments, let us know what you thought about Bleach and how fucking wrong we are that it's the greatest shonen ever and gets a bad rap. And subscribe to the channel for more podcasts, more Bleach, more good taste. I guess
good taste is definitely correct.
I'm Neon Manta,
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
and you'll see us next time.
Sayonara, bitches.